I am Colonel Chris Black, and I am the commander of the Combat Aviation Brigade in the 1st Infantry Division. I am a Big Red 1 soldier, proudly serving in our nation's 1st Division. It is an absolute honor and privilege to be with you here today on this historic occasion. Today, we remember the courage, heroic acts, and self-sacrifice of the soldiers that liberated Trevieres. These soldiers answered the call when their nation needed them. After the largest combined air and amphibious operation ever attempted, the fighting was not over. On June 6, the Allies gained a precarious toehold on the European continent, and they would need to continue the fight, village by village and town by town, to truly take Europe back from the Nazi tyranny. As part of that fight, on June 8th, the 2nd Infantry Division was ordered to relieve units of the 1st Infantry Division north of the town of Trevieres, then to attack south. The attack was set for June 9th at 1200 hours. The 1st Infantry Division's 18th Infantry Regiment was commanded by Colonel George Smith. The mission was to fix the German forces in place so the 2nd Infantry Division's 38th Infantry Regiment, commanded by Colonel Walter Elliott, could move into and capture the town. Trevieres had to be seized by Allied forces as there was significant German artillery in and around the town that continued to hamper Allied operations along the coast. This fight was hard. 2nd Infantry Division did most of their fighting with only rifles and carbines, as their heavy machine guns and weapons were still being unloaded from the barges back at the beach. Additionally, the Germans were dug into defensive positions around the city and had multiple sniper positions on the approach. Captain Weathers of the 38th Infantry, 2nd Infantry Division, won the Distinguished Service Cross for extraordinary heroism on the initial day of the attack. As Captain Weathers and their team began the attack, they immediately became pinned down by artillery fire. Realizing that excessive losses from the enemy would occur, he ran across the entire front of his company, shouting to the men, encouraging them and urging them forward. Inspired by his bold action, the men got up and followed his example, rallying into a vigorous assault. Captain Weathers was killed by an artillery shell, but his men continued the fight. By June 10th, the remaining German forces were pushed out of the village by the 38th Infantry regiments. The Germans fought with great tenacity, defending the town house by house. Many of them literally had to be dug from the cellars before they would surrender. Liberating the town of Trevieres was incredibly significant, not just for the citizens of the city, who were beyond ecstatic for being free again. It was significant to the Allied campaign as it allowed the massive amount of supplies and material to begin movement into theater to continue the campaign and a battle across Europe and into Germany. We are here today to celebrate the liberation of Trevieres and also remember and honor those who made it happen. Indeed, President Abraham Lincoln stated that a nation that does not honor its heroes will not last. It is vitally important for us to remember their sacrifices and take to heart the hard lessons they learned. We remember the heroic acts from soldiers like Colonel Elliott, Captain Weathers, and even Private First Class Jesse DeVore of the 38th Infantry Regiment. DeVore was made famous by a photograph of him holding a French child shortly after the Battle of Trevieres. He was killed in action at the age of 23, just 17 days after the photograph was taken. Their efforts liberated a town, alleviated the German attacks on the beach, and allowed for the flow of supplies to sustain this fight. But we should also acknowledge that their efforts, in the end, were for something more. They were fighting for the ideals of freedom and liberty for mankind. As Dwight D. Eisenhower stated on the eve of D-Day, "You are about to embark on the great crusade toward which we have striven these many months. The eyes of the world are upon you. The hopes and prayers of liberty-loving people everywhere march with you. Thanks to them, 75 years later, we live in peace. We can raise families in peace and prosperity, and we remember that what we have today came at a cost. We must remember these soldiers' deeds and actions, honor their memories, and continue to carry on their legacy. It's important for our generation and generations to come to remember what happened here. We should remember that freedom is not free, and once freedom is lost, we have to know that the price to take back freedom is nothing less than the blood and innocence of a nation's youth. I want to say a special thanks to the French citizens for continuing to honor the memory of what happened here, the heroes that fought here, and the men and women who died here. Thank you for honoring their memory, for honoring their sacrifice, and thank you for making sure that what happened here is remembered for posterity. You set an example for us all. As a soldier, it is incredibly humbling to see you remember and honor these real heroes 75 years later. Like you, we will never forget that real heroes, like those who fought and died here, should never die. We must never forget. As a member of America's 1st Division, we stand on the shoulders of giants. These heroes, we carry with them our legacy with us today. And it is without a doubt that the current soldiers of the 1st Infantry Division in the United States Army stand ready to defend freedom at any cost. No mission too difficult, no sacrifice too great. Duty first, victory. Thank you for having me today.